All right, so we'll begin, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Hello, friends. Welcome to the 30 States webinar, which we are hosting today in the run-up to International Women's Day. I am Urvashi, and with me is 30 States co-founder Rashmi. Our consistent effort at 30 States has been to bring you stories about inspiring individuals and institutions who are making a contribution to the society. So today, we have with us a panel of multifaceted and multi-talented women, each of whom has an inspiring success story to share with you. They have all faced challenges and overcome them with their grit and determination. Now let me introduce the panel to you. Preeti Patkar is a human rights activist and social worker. In 1986, she began work in the red light area of Kamathipura in Mumbai, which was then the largest sex trade center in Asia. She also co-founded her NGO Prerna, which works with the children of sex workers. In 1988, Preeti fought all odds to open the world's first night care center to provide shelter to children of sex workers. Thanks to Prerna's educational and institutional support programs, over 15,000 children of sex workers have got out of intergenerational sex trade and are today working as teachers, social workers, bankers, and entrepreneurs. Preeti is the winner of many national and international awards, including the Human Rights Award at the 2014 Vital Voices Global Leadership Awards. Our next participant is Swarnlata B. Swarnlata is a disability rights activist based in Coimbatore. Swarnlata was diagnosed with multiple sclerosis in 1998. Overcoming all the odds, she has impacted millions of lives worldwide through her work. Swarnlata is the founder and managing trustee of Swarga Foundation, a registered charitable trust formed to improve the lives of patients affected with multiple sclerosis and neurodiseases. She has delivered more than 150 motivational talks across India to a wide range of audiences. Swarnlata is a multi-talented personality, a TEDx speaker, motivational speaker, singer, writer, and photographer. Swarnlata has won many awards, notably the Dr. Batraj People's Choice Award and Cavan Care Ability Award for Eminence. She was the first runner-up at the Mrs. India Beauty Pageant South, held in Goa in May 2018. Next, we have Aruna Tirke. Aruna is a connoisseur of tribal cuisine and stands out for her remarkable initiative on tribal food revival in Jharkhand, which she visualizes as a means to strengthen tribal identity and culture that is fast disintegrating. Her food revival mission is named as Ajam Emba, which means great taste in the Kuduk language spoken by the Orao tribe. Belonging to the Orao tribe, she is one of the first women tribal entrepreneurs in the region, working with the farm to plate approach. She has established a tribal cuisine restaurant and training center in Ranchi, through which more than 6 tribal women and around 5,000 farmers and forest produce collectors are being benefited. Aruna also has an MBA in human development and has worked on issues related to community health, women empowerment, livelihood development, and forest rights for over 15 years. And last but not the least, our youngest participant is Juhi Singh. Juhi is an upcoming singer and actor from Jammu who is identified by her sweet voice and her ukulele. Juhi is currently working as a video jockey in Jammu. During the lockdown last year, she shifted base from Mumbai to Jammu. Juhi, along with her brother Ruhi, became a social media sensation by reviving and singing old Dogri and Himachali folk songs. The siblings have made several videos of folk songs that have received appreciation from around the world. Juhi and Ruhi have learnt music from their father, Suraj Singh, a well-known singer and musician. Apart from music, Juhi also has an interest in theatre. She has a postgraduate degree in theatre from Mumbai University and has acted in several Hindi and Dogri plays, as well as in some Hindi and regional films. So that is about our participants, our panel. And I'd like to warmly welcome each one of you to this seminar. Thank you so much for joining us today. So, if we could start with you, I'll come to you first. If you could just tell us that, how difficult was it for you to begin working in Kamathipura area? What were the challenges that you faced? How did you overcome them?
Preeti, you'll have to unmute yourself.
First and foremost, thank you so much. You all can hear me now?
Yes.
Yes, great. Thank you so much for having me on this esteemed panel, for inviting me. Thanks, Urvashi. Thanks, Rashmi. Yes, about the challenges of working in the red light area, I think they were just so many challenges. First, initially, I think starting, gaining and earning the trust of the women in the red light area was the beginning, building the confidence in positive change, that positive change can be brought out in their lives. And of course, developing mutual respect, because these women had so many people in their lives who have violated their trust. It is the violation of their trust which had, which resulted in them being in the sex trade. So earning their trust, of course, to begin with, was a challenge. If you see the red light area, violence is normal. So when normalization of violence takes place, and when it seems like violence is the response to solving all problem, now this is not good for growth, well-being, and development. And changing this mindset again was a challenge. Then changing people's perception of women in the sex trade, explaining to people that there are these young girls and women who've been violated, explaining to them the whole concept of trafficking. There were many people who thought trafficking is a myth, and even today they think trafficking is a myth, and that women in the sex trade are where they are today out of choice. Then for us, our biggest challenge was explaining intergenerational trafficking as violation. People believe then, and to some extent even today, that prostitution is a necessary social evil, sex trade is here to stay. And who better than a daughter born to a prostituted woman in the red light area, in the brothel, to take over the sex trade, So normalizing intergenerational trafficking, feeling that there is no violation here, that this is how it should be, and this is what we should encourage. Now, changing this mindset of the people again was a challenge for us, getting people to listen to the stories of these women, their journeys, how did they end up in the sex trade, again was a Herculean task. And then when we started talking about children born to the prostituted women, their right to choose their own path, their right to education, safety, and protection, what we found was people were asking us guarantees. They said if we invested in children born in the brothel, would we guarantee that they would never enter the sex trade? Now, changing this mindset, talking to them about human rights, that basic rights are for all, irrespective of where you're born, to whom you're born. This again became a challenge. And of course, the whole concept of a night care center, convincing people to give us a place to start the night care center, the utility of night care center, how it is going to protect these children, all that was such a challenge. Nobody wanted in their premises anything to do with children born in the brothels in the red light area. So, challenges were just insurmountable for us. I mean, they were never, they were there then, and they are in different shapes and sizes even today.
Babita, ପଠେଇବି କି ସେ multidimensional poverty ଟା ଆସିଛି ଗୋଟେ letter କରିଦେବୁ ହେଲା letter କରିଦେବା
I think someone needs to mute their
Aruna, if you could just mute yourself.
No, she's on mute only. Aruna is on mute.
Okay, so I thought somebody. Okay, yeah. Right. Okay, so Swarnlata, if I can come to you next, if you could tell us, if you could share with us how your journey has been, and how was it for you after you were diagnosed with this disease? How did you cope with it? How did you bounce back?
First of all, good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for letting me be part of this esteemed panel. I have faced many challenges before my disease and disability. like being sexually harassed by my own father's brother, and my family disowning me after I got married to the love of my life. And yeah, meeting with an accident where I broke my jaw. Um, I could not speak for more than a year, and I had multiple fractures on my both the legs. So it took me 1.5 years to get back to my feet. All this happened before my disease and disability, and after that, I got married to Guru Prasad, and yeah, I had just started experiencing what love was, what family is, and I had given birth to Gagan, who was 2 years old when I was suddenly, diagnosed with this disease. Morning I was fine, and by 10 a.m. I started feeling a little feverish, and I took a paracetamol thinking I should be okay. But by afternoon, I was neck down paralyzed. It affected everything from my vision to speech to my hand movements, bowels, bladder, you name it, and I got affected. And the biggest challenge was, I mean, I had too many questions whether this condition is going to be temporary or permanent, and what am I going to do with my 2-year-old child, because I didn't have any support system, no moral support whatsoever. So how am I going to deal with this was the biggest challenge. And I contemplated suicide also, but then I had tried it earlier in the past when I had lost my father to suicide. So I had ended up in hospital. So I thought this time if I try and I fail, it's going to be really miserable. So I wanted to give life another chance, and yeah, here I am. So along with my husband, I started an NGO called Swarga Foundation. The challenges that I had is one from the society, lack of insensitivity towards people with disabilities. Second, the kind of um, words that you get to listen from your extended family for being disabled, being sympathized, and telling me that I have sinned so much that I ended up in this condition. And third is my own family, how they responded to my condition. My son was born before disability. My daughter was born after that, 2 years later. So it made a lot of difference to my family also. My son is 13 now, daughter is 9. They've seen me in various stages. They've seen me walk a little bit. They've seen me with a walking stick, walker. Then now I'm on wheelchair from last 5 years. So my condition is deteriorating. So accepting myself as a person with disability, which is also very progressive, is also a greatest challenge that I have faced. So I think it needs a lot of patience and support from the friends and family, definitely. Otherwise, I wouldn't have achieved what I've done today. Through Swarga Foundation, we have supported many patients with their monthly medications, hospitalizations, providing them mobility aids, hearing aids, etc. We also counsel patients and their family members. We have started Tamil Nadu's first transport facility for people with disabilities and senior citizens, which comes with a ramp, toilet, sofa cum bed, television, hot water, so that people like us can travel with dignity and comfort. And we have made 10 government schools, police commissioner's office, and railway station in Coimbatore wheelchair friendly by providing wheelchair friendly toilets and ramps everywhere. And yeah, 2 years back, we also started Saukhya Pain Rehab Clinic, where we provide free of cost therapy, Ayurveda therapy and physiotherapy and counseling services to all the patients. Yeah, like I said, it's free of cost. We have treated more than 4,000 patients. And apart from that, I also started singing and got into making art and craft. And I did photography. The pictures that I've clicked have been displayed in various international exhibitions. And one of the videos that I did also won prize from first prize at CBM International. And yeah, I speak about 10 languages. I can write 6 languages. So it enabled me to see a different side of my life. Yes, with ability you can do lot many things, but with disability I realized you don't need a 100% able body. You need 100% able mind, and that willpower, to do whatever you can do. And people call us with different names. They call us handicapped, they call us physically challenged, they call us divyang, they call us special. But what I realized is I'm not just special, and I'm limited edition. So that's what I tell all my friends, that people with disabilities are really gifted in their own way, and they also have feelings. They also need partners. They also need education. They also need employment. So
Yeah.
I'm not fighting for all this. I'm encouraging people to include us in the society.
Yes. Wonderful. That's very
And
interesting.
one of the biggest challenges is being mother of 2 children.
Yes, that is a challenge. I think we
we'll
all
all agree with that.
So yes, we totally agree with you on that.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
if I can share my experience, one of the experiences when my son was 2-year-old, we were discussing his homework, and he mentioned to me that he never talks about me with his friends because he's ashamed of my disability. And this is the last thing any mother would want to hear from her child, right? So when my husband returned from office, I broke down. I started crying so badly. He said, "This too will pass. We will handle this also." So 4 days later, I got my first assignment as a motivational speaker. It was at the one of the most elite Rotary Club in Coimbatore, and when I finished addressing, I got a standing ovation. So my son was present there, and I just gave a look, and his chest was swollen with pride. That's when I realized that yes, you
That's
need
so
to
nice.
show a lot to children through actions and not
Yes.
words. And now he considers me the best mother in the world. So things like this, of course, children realize that I'm not like any mothers who can pack their boxes, who can pack their tiffin, who can take them to park. But I can do different things. So
Yes.
they're happy. They're also
Very nice.
contented with whatever I can do. And
Wonderful.
thank you
Thank
so
you
much
for
for listening
sharing
to
that
my
so much.
story.
Yeah. And so, Aruna, if we can come to you. Hello, Aruna.
Aruna, you need to unmute.
You can.
Hello. So am I audible?
Yes, yes.
Aruna, yeah. So, Aruna, if I can ask you now that, how tough or how challenging was it for you when you, set out on this journey?
So very first, I would like to thanks to the panel, the esteemed panel member, Miss Urvasi, and definitely the Rashmi Pratap. And a very good afternoon and Johar from the Jharkhand. So given me an opportunity to express my all about the journey called Ajamemba, the farm to plate approach, right? So first of all, I would like to mention, as Swarnlata now said, ki the biggest challenge to be a mother of 2 kids. So I'm also the mother of 2 kids who's studying in a school. And from there, I started my journey as my husband was in abroad that time for a higher study, and I have to look after my 2 kids. From there, my journey has begun. Like I for to nurture, for to look after my children, I have to left my job, and slowly just I was just running short of to manage my whole family affairs. I just in a very beginning I started a sack nearby my house, just to selling of the momos to run my household needs, no. So from there I started my journey last 10 years back, because I just left my job. So in that that time really it was very much hardship for me, as my husband was in abroad. From there, definitely, and at the same time, for a particular woman in a general phenomenon or general mindset, I mean, society, this is my personal, what I earn, I mean, what I observed. Women as, no, it is shown by that society, the earner member. Because I also feel very closely from my side, the family, they did not support me to be living with my small kids, and the earning for the bread, for them, my also family members, either my husband's side or my parent, my mother's side, I didn't get any much support, or financially or morally, to establish myself alone at Ranchi, in Jharkhand, because my husband was in that time in abroad for his higher study.
Yes.
So for I started to selling of the momo for a small like a vendor. So my parents side, they used to, because I passed from the managerial I mean management professional, they call, and they asking ki, being a management professional, you will go and selling the momo in the night also on the roadside, how it is possible? So that time it's gave me very negative, the negative mindset ki एक मतलब being a professional or management background, how you could do
Yes.
selling of the momo. From there I started. So the morally support I didn't get any from my family member. I'm very, that time I was very depressed ki how I will, I mean, run to these all this journey. At the meantime, in the year of 2016, in the day of indigenous international indigenous day, I participated in the tribal cuisine, tribal cuisine competition. And for the god, yeah, for the god blessings, I got the first prize over there. So the very first, in the year of 2016, it was the turning point for me to look forward as a woman, particular woman tribal entrepreneur. So there only this I could set, I mean, I just set my mindset, yes, this is my the opportunity. So to this opportunity I should not miss to go ahead my the particular the professional background, as I am the rural development professional. So this was my the first platform I so I thought that time.
If I can just
Yeah.
ask you, is that when the idea of opening the restaurant came to you? That's when you
Yeah.
thought of, okay.
Yeah. That is
Okay.
before that, I was selling the momo,
Right.
momo or
Yes.
Hyderabad biryani,
Okay.
the looking of the my child also, there were that time before the 5 years old, they were just standard 2 or 3. I was
Yeah.
the alone that time, handling my family alone. So it was
Yeah.
the 2016, the turning point of my time, the towards entering in the tribal cuisine. And also it was the time to correlate my the professional background, as I am the rural development professional. My experience over the 15th years working in the rural, among the rural society in different states like Andhra Pradesh, Orissa, and the part of the slum area in the Bihar. And finally, I
Right.
came to Jharkhand. So that was 2016 was my turning point when I got the first prize in the
Yeah.
rural cuisine. Yeah.
Yeah. And then if I can just ask then, how did you decide on opening a restaurant for tribal cuisine, particularly?
Yeah, so that time it was came into mind because in suffering to the different states working among the tribal, I was I found it was missing something, the identity and the culture of the tribal again, to secure the
Okay.
identity and culture of the tribal. So that was for my plus point to start that time from the through food, through the tribal cuisine. I can bring the culture and the identity of the tribal, because particular for the Jharkhand state, there was no any I mean, our tribal cuisine was not in the mainstream. Whether you go in the Andhra, Odisha, there is just every state have their own identity through food. But I seen in my state Jharkhand, from there only I started my to open and the particular tribal cuisine, and I have the experience and the good rapport over working over the tribal community. I know that I have the idea, because still at my home the practice of the tribal cuisine. So I have the particular the tribal way of cooking skill, which I learned from my parents, my mother and my father. My father was the great concisor of the tribal herbs, I mean tribal cuisine regarding plants, herbs, and other than the plants and other tribal cuisine. So from the childhood I learned. So here only I could start to the cuisine about the tribal. So from there, the biggest challenging, the first challenge was for me to just to like the tribal. There was no any in the syllabus or the culinary books. There was no any
No mention of tribal.
skills. Yeah. So this was the biggest challenge for me, because I know myself how to cook, the what is the method of the cuisine, and what are the ingredients in the tribal cuisine, what are the things we used to do in the tribally traditionally. But there is no any skills in a culinary books. So this is the very first my challenge, because I have to establish like me the 10 to 12 aruna or the second line, so that because the as per the skills there within an expansion of 3 years there is a huge demands of this traditional cuisine, which is the means of the slow food option and the superfood option as against the fast food. So at the same time, this is the biggest challenge for me right nowadays, because there is
Aruna, you have succeeded to a large extent. No, you are helping so many people, and you have created a second line now.
Yeah. So now I have started to the like a training center, giving them the training, teaching, skilled training to my staffs also. So there is now I could have established to the learning, doing by learning. So this is the staff right now. They are doing by learning. They are also earning the money, and they are also learning the things in a skilled manner and professionally and commercially manner. This is the first challenge was for me, and now I am now establishing. The second thing, as I said, I could able to recognize the traditional collectors, or I could able to recognize the 5,000 of farmers. So this the challenge in the meantime. What was the challenge? To procurement of the rural or traditional ingredients, because as we all know, the rural people, they are very meant for their, they are very comfort to selling their products to the middleman, So now this was the second challenge for me. In spite of giving them more the higher price, they are very much comfortable to selling their price to their older middleman. So, and the authenticity. So this is for me the second challenge.
Yes, that also you have. Okay. So if I could just bring Juhi in now, Aruna. I'll just Juhi, if we could from you now that you shifted from Jammu to Mumbai. So how has your experience been? Has it been very exciting? Has it been very tough? How has it been?
It was exciting and tough both. It was like being in Jammu. I did not find any kind of challenges because I was here in Jammu with my parents, with my brother, who are always supportive and always protective. But it was like the first challenge for me was I have to convince my parents, because I wanted to be in Mumbai. I wanted to study my master's in theater arts, and they agreed it. At once they agreed it, and I was like very happy. So I shifted to Mumbai for 2 years, and in Mumbai, there were so many challenges which I faced at that time, because you are a Jammu person. You belong to a Jammu city where you will not find any kind of local train, you will not find any kind of metro. But in Mumbai, you will find so many things, and people are only walking. You will not find any stable person who is like standing at one particular place, but you will find everybody is
Always
moving,
on the
moving,
move.
moving.
Everybody's
Yeah.
on the move. Yes.
So everybody is moving. For me, the biggest challenge was to travel. First biggest challenge was to travel. I had to get local, I had to get metro, and then I had to get local bus as well. And I soon started learning it. It was
Yes.
after that it becomes easy because you adopt yourself like that. And the second biggest challenge for me was to learn Marathi language, which is
Okay.
very tough. And I still remember one of the incidents when I was in local train. I was not able to get into that train, and one of the ladies, because I was in the ladies compartment, she told me, "अगर तुझसे नहीं होगा अगली ट्रेन में तो मत चढ़ना, चले जाना वापस." I was very much I was in anger as well. I was very much upset. I was like, this is the challenge, Juhi. You have to get in the local. आपको जाना पड़ेगा. You have to be in this. Otherwise, next opportunity you will get missed. You will never get the next opportunity. So I kept that strength, and I get into that train. And the third biggest challenge for me was to learn all the languages, because in my universities there were so many people who were speaking Assamese, Odia, and Bengali. So I started learning these languages as well, and I did so many productions in different languages, being a Jammu person. And everybody was asking me, at that time everybody was asking me, "Or you are from Kashmir?" "Yes, we have seen Kashmir in the pictures." I said, no, I'm from Jammu." "Where is Jammu?" "Jammu and Kashmir are together." No, you are not understanding. Kashmir is like beautiful heaven. Where is Jammu?" So I was like, every time I was telling them, Jammu is a beautiful place. You have to come here in Jammu, and you have to learn so many things from Jammu as well, because we have a different culture. Kashmir has a different culture. Jammu has a different culture. So a biggest challenge for me was being in Jammu, a variety of challenges which I have faced. And I still remember when I was, in the vacations when I was coming back to Jammu, I was singing with my brother. So one of the videos was seen by a radio channel in Mumbai. So they told my brother, "We want Juhi to be in our station in Mumbai. So can she come?" So my brother told that lady, "Yeah, she lives in Mumbai now. She can come to your station." So that station was in Andheri. And I had to travel from Andheri to Dombivali in the night. So from 8 p.m. to 10 p.m. I was still in the local. I was still in the metro. It was for me a difficult thing for me to travel, because everything I was just thinking, when I was in Jammu, I'm getting all the facilities. But here, your challenge starts, your struggle period starts when you face all the problems, when you face all the people who are working, who are like sitting, who are watching you. There, nobody cares. You are the boss of your own self, and you have to travel. You have to plan yourself. You have to think about your opportunities which are getting. I think these are the challenges, but I loved all these things. I love challenges because I love myself. That's it.
Wonderful. That's great spirit.
Yeah.
Okay. So, very interesting what everything that you shared with us. But if I could just ask you that, how did you all face up to the challenges? And do you think that being women, do women have to work doubly hard to prove themselves? Because we've heard this many times that, women have to struggle more. Have any of you ever faced any gender discrimination? If you could start, then
Yeah.
what
See, being in Mumbai, I think I haven't faced any kind of gender discrimination. When I was in my classes as well, my teachers, my mates, my friends who were around me, they were all very supportive. And when I was going out for like shopping and for any other kind of stuffs, I was seeing so many ladies working together. And even if you see in the markets where the women are selling fishes also, where the women are selling fishes, they are selling with the men. So they are locally, they are together, they are holding this beautiful place called Mumbai. And I don't think because of men only, the Bombay or India is working. I think because of women also, everybody is working together. And I haven't faced any kind of gender discrimination, or even if I faced it, I was like, I did not felt it.
Okay.
There was nothing like that. I never felt a single kind of a feeling where everybody, whatever, like whenever I've seen people, my mentors, my teachers who have made me, my Lavani madam teacher, who was making me so comfortable with her. She was such a brilliant lady. She just shared all her stories with me. I was so fascinated. I was so happy that I'm learning this thing from her. And every man also, when she was dancing on the platform, when she was dancing, every man, every single person, he stood up and he was clapping. So it is like women's are everywhere. Where there is women, there is magic, I think.
Wonderful. All right. Preeti, if I could ask you the same question.
Yeah, that's a nice question. I'm not sure, first, thank you so much again. Such fascinating journeys you all have shared. I'm just so overwhelmed, with everybody's journey. So, yeah, thank you again. And I don't know whether I wished everybody, happy Women's Day. I think we need to wish each other and we need to be there for each other. And yeah, we need to support each other. Well, when it comes to Urvashi, your question of discrimination, so if you see on the panel, I think I'm the most oldest, right? The older person here. So there's no way I wouldn't have experienced discrimination. I have definitely experienced discrimination. Everywhere. Sometimes I felt the discrimination that I experienced was not out of malice. It was because that's how people thought women and girls have to live. That's how they have to be treated. Okay. So with some people, I'm definitely not angry. I knew, later in my year, I knew why they behaved the way they behaved with me. What I'm really angry about is where people very intentionally discriminated, where people didn't even make an attempt to understand that there's something that when you're talking about rights, we're talking about equal rights. We are the same. That's where, for me, when you talk about discrimination, when you talk about equality, I feel the discussion, the discourse starts there. Of course, women, this is about me and all the women that I have worked with, I have known. I think, our discrimination starts very often with our wage gap. Discrimination remains even today in workplace when we're talking about sexual harassment. Unfortunately, it is not a thing of the past. It is still there. And, as and when women go higher up, in whichever way they are promoted, I think there are fewer women there. And there are times, or maybe it's more often, that when there are fewer women up there, these women leaders lack the support system to fight this discrimination. Very often you find they're out there alone. And even I have found myself very often, but I must say I am in the development sector where we have more women, where we have that support for each other. So in that sense, I do find myself more privileged, as of today. Then in our work environment, I also find there is no understanding of the concept of equality and gender fairness. We need to talk about that. Women all over, I find they have very few role models, and where the whole idea of women mentoring women is so new. And I feel somewhere moving forward, we need to encourage and foster women mentoring women. To some extent, I feel we have managed to ensure those were open. We open doors for women. Today, we find men also opening doors for women. We also get a place on the table. But my fear is that place on the table is very often very tokenism. Our participation very often is manipulated. And somewhere I feel this definitely needs to, moving forward, we need to see a change somewhere there. Then there are instances where, I find, there is a face of a woman in a leadership position, but men are making all the decisions. I mean, I can tell you a very recent example where there is this, in a state that I had gone, there is a district women and child development officer. She, where women and child development issues are concerned, she heads the district. And her husband has brought her there. He was driving the car, and he's sitting in an official meeting, and he's partaking in that discussion, and the woman is just sitting there quiet when he's not even the official member of that meeting. Somewhere I feel these are things that we need to change. We are having faces of women in leadership, but we also need to ensure there is an enabling environment where they are in a position to make decisions. They're in a position to influence decisions. I always say, don't call women voiceless women. We have enough voice. I mean, we are loud. What we need to change is that people don't like to hear us. And together, women need to change that. Women are not invisible. We are very visible. Everybody sees us, What we need to change is stop keeping women invisible. We need to stop taking women for granted. Women who speak up are suppressed. Women also don't speak up because of the consequences, fear of backlash. They suffer silently because they don't get the necessary support. We've seen our work in the red light area where, women have fought all odds. And believe me, my fight is nothing. Very often I feel I fight from a position of privilege. When the women that I have worked with have fought from a position of disadvantage. And when you create that kind of support system, when you give that kind of confidence in them and they gain that kind of confidence, you should see how they defy all odds, fight those pimps and perpetrators to ensure that their children's rights are met, to ensure that their children have a right to choose a life of dignity away from the sex trade. And this is something I feel moving forward, all of us we need to do. We need to involve men at a very young age, boys at a very young age in this discussion of equality, in this discussion of gender fairness. Very often we keep them away. We need to tell them this is not a fight between you and us. We collectively need to ensure what we call as equality. Together we need to work, to change and to recognize our strength and to change the way the world perceives our strength. We need to tell the world we have a voice and we need to use it. This is what I strongly feel. But discrimination definitely is there.
Yes. Swarnlata, have you faced any of these daunting, fights?
Preeti ma'am, it was so inspiring to hear you. I've become such a huge fan of yours. Thank you so much for bringing new insight. When it comes to discrimination, yes, at workplace, I have faced discrimination, but like they say, women are the worst enemies of women. And I have faced that discrimination from the women of my family. And like, for example, my mother wanted a boy always, and she gave birth to 4 daughters in the hope of having a son someday. So since I was the second daughter, she always had this disappointment that if I were a boy, then then two sisters wouldn't have been there. So that's why I was brought up with lack of love, lack of support, lack of empathy. And my mother-in-law also always felt that her son is more capable than me in every way possible. So I think it starts from the home, you know. I faced less discrimination in the outside world than my own home.
Okay. So the outside world you found was more supportive, is it?
Yeah, definitely more supportive. Men, men that I have met in my life were only of two types. They were either sexually interested in me or very supportive and friendly with me. So yeah, I can only group them into two. So I'm
Okay.
glad that I have more supporters and who are responsible for me being in this position today. My male friends have really contributed to whom I am today. So that way I have not faced any gender discrimination.
So that's very encouraging to hear, no? In international honors webinar in International Women's Day, that men are
Yeah,
being
and I
supported
think
just
women
like
should
women.
start supporting each other on
Yes,
this Women's
absolutely.
Day. We should all take vow not to become each other's foes and feel jealous about each other's achievements, but to support each other and achieve something together, not alone. Walk
Absolutely.
together.
Yes.
Thank
Oh,
you.
Aruna?
So yes, and
Yes.
thank you again, Urvashi ma'am, for giving me
Yes.
the opportunity. So yes, and very firstly I mentioned
Yes.
because of I am the rural, I mean I'm the woman entrepreneur. So
Yes.
this is the very first, and I also mentioned in the family, at my family, if I was a male member, na, I could have been get support from my family also. So yes, it is a. I feel also it is a there is a discrimination. Though the overall journey, it is a very exciting for me also. The new things, the innovative initiative I have been taken with my all rural women. This is the first time woman, I mean, woman-led institution or organization or the entrepreneurs area. So, in spite of all these things, yes, I have been also the realize ki there is a discrimination when I used to go to the marketplace also. The literally people, the male people, it was by the male people, ma'am, आप महिला हैं इसलिए आपको छोड़ दे रहे हैं. So what does it mean, right? No,
Yes.
I used to purchase, I used to procure my things, na, like country chicken or like any madwa ragi, the superfood. There are the lots of the queue in the male members, you know, and they are seeing the first time a educated woman entering their side, you know.
Yes.
So there is a voice coming with the main side also. दीदी मैडम आप महिलाएं इसलिए आपको छोड़ दे रहे हैं, जाइए जाइए आप ले लीजिए सारा सामान. So this type of statement ना ये एक सुनने में आती है, तो I feel that I'm very bad. क्यों नहीं? Why not women can become a good entrepreneur? So in the one word, really it is very much challenging for me also to go ahead, to run the initiative ahead. So it will come definitely. So there is and in the marketing, in my restaurant area also, there is some the social construct mind, because they think ki outer side in a big hotel they have the male safe, but in the Acha member, we all are the women. We all are the women safe. There is some the social, I think, social stigma कि अरे यहाँ तो सारी महिलाएं हैं, सेफ सारी महिलाएं काम कर रही है. So there is some notions or there is some thinking about the female person by the male कि नहीं, मतलब बाकी अच्छे रेस्टोरेंट में तो सारे मर्द लोग हैं, सेफ हैं, यहाँ तो सारी महिलाएं हैं, तो ये there is a discrimination about all these things.
The mindset still has to change.
Yeah, social entrepreneur, it is a very challenging for me also in that prospects.
लेकिन आपने तो काफी चेंज किया अरुणा जी, काफी आपने वहाँ पे बदलाव लाए आप ऑन ग्राउंड.
बिल्कुल बिल्कुल. So still I have to go, and there is a lots of I mean, you know, the challenges in these regards. महिला है, महिला का सेंटर है, महिला एंटरप्रेन्योर है, ऊपर से ट्राइबल.
True.
And
Yes.
उसके ऊपर एक ट्राइबल
Double disadvantage. Absolutely.
yeah,
Yes.
double discrimination.
Yes.
So, and again from my
Okay.
bottom of heart, a very to wish you to all so happy Women's Day, International Women's Day
Okay.
from
Thank you.
Thank you.
my all team from the Aja Memba.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So, okay, Juhi, if I could just ask you that, you know, if you had to give a message to women out there, what would you have to say from your experience?
First of all, I wanted to wish everybody here a very happy International Women's Day, and I am so happy to get to know Ma'am Preeti Ma'am, which have told so many things, very good things, and thank you Urvashi Ma'am for allowing me to speak here and being with all these people. I just wanted to say, yes, women's are not invisible; they are visible. But first of all, we need to think from our mind as well. We need to break our mind's barrier first. We are not fighting with the outer world. We are fighting with our inner self. First, we'll break all our mind's barrier. Then I think we are all ready to step out and face the outer world. So our fight is with ourselves. So I just wanted to give this message to everyone, and I just wanted to say one of the lines by one of the best writers of India, and the lines are: "कोई साथ ना दे मेरा, चलना मुझे आता है, हर आग से वाकिफ हूँ, जलना मुझे आता है."
Wow,
So I
wow,
think
wow.
this is the line which I wanted to share with you all, and just wanted to say a very happy International Women's Day.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
What would your message be, since you have, you know, such vast experiences, different experiences that you've shared?
Whom are you asking this question?
That what would your message be for women?
It's me. It's me.
Yes.
Oh,
Yes.
I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. You know, I think I'm going to, you know, talk. My message is going to be around, you know, ending violence. Maybe because that's what I keep seeing every day in and out. I feel if we do not intervene, violence will perpetuate violence. You know, we should not be bystanders. Then I also, you know, often feel that there are times when we walk alone. But, you know, don't forget, none of us should forget the strength in collective action. You know, I always feel we should all, in whichever way possible, contribute towards bringing about equality, equal rights for all. You know, don't wait to see what others are doing, what others are saying, or what others do. I just feel we should just take the first step. Take that step to make the society safe for all. And I feel making society safe, you know, creating justice, creating equality is everybody's responsibility. In small or big way, we have to take on that responsibility and we have to act on it. I think this is my humble submission on this platform. Thank you.
Swarnlata, what would you like to say? Any message?
There is this particular incident I would like to share.
Yes.
After coming on wheelchair, that was my first hospitalization. Every year I get hospitalized twice, and for a period of almost 4 months in a year, I'm in hospital. So after coming on wheelchair, this was my first hospitalization and I had to stay on my own. So my husband dropped me on a Sunday afternoon and he left me Sunday night. So Monday onwards, for the next 2 months, I had to manage on my own. So at morning around 4:30 a.m., I felt the urgent need to go to bathroom. My bladder was full. And I have a bit of urinary incontinence. So I had to rush to the bathroom. So when I was getting transferred from my wheelchair to the commode, I fell off on the ground and my bladder broke. And it was very, very embarrassing for me. And I could not shout for help because I had locked the door from inside. So even if somebody comes for help, no, they wouldn't be able to access me. And it was 4:30 in the morning, so no one would be awake in the hospital. So I decided to try to get up. I tried, I don't know how many times, at least must have been about 30 times. I cried so much. I was feeling so helpless, because this is the last thing anybody would want to feel, being dependent on others. Then I gave one last try, and I was able to sit on the wheelchair. That is when I realized when you're in deep shit in life, which practically I was in deep shit. Yeah, when you're in deep shit in life, nobody comes to rescue. Your family, your spouse, your friends, your education, your money, nothing comes to rescue. It is only your own willingness to help yourself that will rescue yourself. So I wish everybody should have that courage and self-confidence to get up, no matter you fall 100 times, wake up, get going, show up. That is what I feel. This is my message for the International Women's Day. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Aruna, you would like to say a few words?
So on the occasion of International Women's Day, I just would like to express my message. As a mother, we look after our family. So the time, as per the time demand, and the novel corona has given me lots of the lessons. So like we nurture or we look after our being a woman, we nurture our family, we look after family. This is the whole and earth or the nation or the global, the hand of the woman, of the woman. So हमें हमारी धरती को कैसे रोशनी देनी है, कैसे उसको डायरेक्शन देना है, एक कलेक्टिव एक्शन के साथ में, तो हम एक साथ खड़े होके फॉर हमारी पृथ्वी के लिए, हमारे वर्ल्ड के लिए, वी आर द वुमेन कैन ओनली गो अहेड. हमारे हाथ में हमारे धरती का, हमारे एरिया का हम भविष्य है, हम महिलाओं के हाथ में. तो वी शुड नॉट टेकन आवर प्रिविलेज कि वी आर द महिलाएं, वी कांट डू. मतलब हमें उसका वो इमोशनल या तो वो फायदा नहीं लेना है. बिकॉज व्हाई आई एम टेलिंग कि आई हैव सेट द ये एग्जाम्पल इन फ्रॉम फॉर माई रीजन. Though we have the Jharkhand, lots of minerals, lots of resources, still our area girls, people, they are migrating for the trafficking. They are being trafficking for the domestic worker. So I set the example. So मैं यही कहना चाहूंगी इंटरनेशनल वुमेन्स डे पे कि हमें कलेक्टिव एफर्ट के साथ में महिलाओं को एक जगह आना है, हमारे धरती को बचाने के लिए इन सस्टेनेबल मैनर. सो धन्यवाद.
All right, thank you. So I think we had a really nice engaging discussion. Thank you to all the panelists. And now we can take a few questions, quick questions, if there are any. Rashmi, are there any questions?
I can't. If anyone has questions, please unmute yourself.
Yeah, Rashmi, shall I say something?
Yes, yes, please.
Please.
Yeah, am I audible?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. Good evening, ladies. It's really wonderful to meet such capable persons. And I would say that there are two ladies who have been kind of proud, that is Rashmi and Urvashi. I should like to say something about their own achievements because we had the privilege of working together when we were in the United News of India News Agency. And I think Rashmi and Urvashi are two of the most capable, most sincere ladies I have met in my life. And it's really nice to be on this platform and to interact with you again. I just want to see this, I've made a few points. I won't take more than 4 minutes. Like, as I just pointed out, I was an officer of the United News of India News Agency. I served the company for 22 years and then I had to resign because of ill health. I'm battling schizophrenia almost since childhood, and I have other ailments. I won't be listing them out. Preeti ji, it's a great endeavor that you are making vis-a-vis the sex workers. And I think that, this is one sector that really, really needs to be focused on, because there cannot be anything more tragic than some sister or daughter having to, sell her body, and for this kind of an occupation. And I think that what you're doing, in fact, I read the article that was published on 30 States recently regarding your fine work, and I really commend your endeavors. Swarnalata ji, the ordeals that you've listed out, the ones you went through, I think, like, I salute you for your courage. It's like almost similar to the courage of the military officers whom I've had the privilege of interviewing over time. Rishika, I think Rishika is also on board probably, because I saw her name there. Some great stories, Rishika, you've been doing for 30 states along with Rashmi and Urvashi. I just wanted to point that out. Just one thing I want to highlight here, and I've been doing a bit of homework here. Like, you are all aware of Chambal division. Chambal division lies in northern Madhya Pradesh. It was earlier part of Gwalior division, comprises 3 districts, Morena, Shiopur, and actually, here Bhint is also included. Now the problem in Chambal is that you had a dacoity issue there. Now, when Mr. Dinesh Chandra Jugran was the DGP of Madhya Pradesh, through a series of encounters, he managed to very successfully put down the dacoity issue. Now, banditry is just one of the problems. It is still there, but in a very, very minimal form. Now, the problem with Chambal is socioeconomic backwardness. And this is a kind of curse that is plaguing the region for decades. And one of the very major issues there is this gender ratio. The gender ratio has gone down so much that it's, like you have what are known as bachelor villages in Chambal region. Now, these are villages where a lot of the youth are unmarried just because no ladies or no marriageable women can be found in the region. So there have been cases where women have been brought in from Haryana, reverse dowry. These families pay those families in Haryana and other states so that their daughters can be married off to these youth. And even Chambal is an administrative nightmare. The police also do not venture into Chambal because they are attacked, their weapons are looted, their vehicles are snatched from them. Now, what I wanted to mention is that NGO intervention is required at the grassroots level in Chambal, because we cannot only let the government do this, because the government itself has gone on record saying that we won't be able to do it alone. So government administration plus NGO intervention, and here I would like to point out female infanticide is rampant in Chambal. I met a retired police officer some years back, and he described how horrible it is when a infant, a female infant, she is placed under a charpoy and crushed. Somebody is made to sit on the charpoy. That is how gruesome, how horrifying it is. And I this image stayed with me for so long that I didn't want to mention it here. My apologies, but that is the stark reality of the problem. And the NGOs have to change the mindset in Chambal. For that, you have to access the villages. I would have done so, but I'm not well, so I can't. Now, just a bit more here, like, discrimination, again, I feel should not be given the color of gender always. Like Swarnalata ji mentioned, women are sometimes the worst enemy of women. Here I would the last thing I want to mention is that Preeti ji would remember way back in 2000, it was in fact before 2003, when the Congress government was in power in Madhya Pradesh. You had an incident at a village called Patna Tamoli. It's in Panna district. There was an incident of sati, and I have covered that incident, and I can quote from the first information report that even women were named in the FIR, which means they actively participated in the crime. So that way, you see, it is there again, Swarnalata ji's statement comes to the fore, where women are sometimes the worst enemies of women. So that's about it, and all the best to all of you. I hope that you go on to conquer further heights, cross further milestones, and happy International Women's Day in advance. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Abhijit. Thank you. Any other question, Rashmi? Would you like?
Hello.
Yeah.
Yes.
उर्वशी जी हेलो और सभी को हेलो मेरा नाम मीनाक्षी है मुझे वेदांत हैं उन्होंने इस कॉन्वर्सेशन में शामिल होने के लिए कहा था तो मैं सिर्फ इतना कहना चाहती हूँ कि मुझे इतना अच्छा लगा आप सबको सुनकर मतलब मुझे आई फेल्ट सो इंस्पायर्ड और आप सबकी कहानियां इतनी अच्छी हैं आप जैसी औरतों की वजह से हम जैसे सभी औरतों को इतनी ज्यादा ताकत मिलती है हमें लगता है कि हमें भी कुछ करना है लाइफ में इसलिए मैं सिर्फ और सिर्फ आप सबका थैंक यू करना चाहती हूँ आप सबको महिला दिवस की बहुत बहुत शुभकामनाएं देना चाहती हूँ और मेरी जूही से एक छोटी सी रिक्वेस्ट है बिकॉज मुझे पता चला है क्योंकि आप गाती हैं राइट जूही तो मैं आपसे मुझे बहुत अच्छा लगेगा कि अगर आप थोड़ा सा गाकर सुनाएंगी इट वुड बी वेरी गुड एंड आई विल बी वेरी थैंकफुल अगेन आप सभी का स्वर्णलता जी प्रीति जी अरुणा जी रश्मि जी आप सबका बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद
Thank you,
Meenakshi. Juhi, you have a
request.
I'm following her. Yes.
Yes.
And you know,
I can see.
Please sing a Dogri song. Since I'm also from
Yes,
Jammu.
I was thinking that only because there are so many people from different.
हाँ तुम्हारा वो है ukulele वो are you having it?
No, अभी वो नहीं है. Actually, it's down. वो घर नीचे पड़ा है. मैं ऊपर हूँ. But still, I will try कि मैं गाती हूँ because there are so many people जो बहुत अलग-अलग मतलब जगह से हैं and they talk to me and they talk their stories as well. So I want them to listen कि हमारा culture, हमारा language कितना ज़्यादा मीठा है. So I just wanted to sing few lines. मायनी माए जमुआ दिराए चंपाए कितनी कदू मायनी माए जमुआ दिराए चंपाए कितनी कदू शिमलेरी बसना सपटुएनी बसना शिमलेनी बसना सपटुएनी बसना बस जाना चंबे जरूर बस जाना चंबे जरूर मायनी माए जमुआ दिराए चंपाए कितनी कदू.
Very nice.
Thank you Juhi.
Thank you so much.
All right. I think on that musical note, we can say that we had a really interesting, very enlightening discussion. So I would